Have you ever wondered what really happens in the Bermuda Triangle? A place where planes and ships vanish without a trace, baffling experts for decades. Is it a portal to another dimension, a paranormal hotspot, or something else entirely? Today, we are diving deep into one of the world's greatest mysteries. Welcome to World in Focus, a channel for exploring the most fascinating and unexplained phenomena our planet has to offer. In this episode, we are setting our course for the infamous Bermuda Triangle, also known as the Devil's Triangle. We'll separate fact from fiction, explore the science, and revisit the chilling stories that have cemented its legendary status. So, buckle up, because we're about to navigate some very mysterious waters. The idea of this specific area being uniquely dangerous didn't just pop up overnight. The term Bermuda Triangle was actually coined much later than you might think. It was a writer named Vincent Gaddis who first used the phrase in a 1964 magazine article. He drew a triangular area on the map, with its points at Miami, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico, and detailed a pattern of strange disappearances within its boundaries. But the legend truly took off a decade later, in 1974, with the publication of Charles Berlitz's best-selling book, The Bermuda Triangle. Berlitz's book sold millions of copies and sensationalized the mystery, suggesting that paranormal forces or even extraterrestrials were to blame. It was this book that really burned the image of a supernatural vortex into the public's imagination. But who was the first to notice something strange in this region? Well, if we go way back, we can find entries in the logs of none other than Christopher Columbus. During his first voyage to the Americas in 1492, he reported that his compass gave bizarre readings somewhere inside the triangle. He also wrote about seeing a great flame of fire crash into the sea one night, and a strange light appearing in the distance a few weeks later. Of course, Columbus wasn't thinking about a Bermuda Triangle. He was an explorer charting unknown waters. To him, these were just some of the many strange and wonderful things he encountered on his historic journey. It was only centuries later that authors like Gaddis and Berlitz would look back at these logs and weave them into the growing tapestry of the Triangulus legend. They painted Columbus not just as an explorer, but as one of the first witnesses to the area's bizarre phenomena. Now, let's talk about the science that often gets left out of the sensational headlines. When you hear about compasses spinning wildly, it sounds supernatural, right? But there's a perfectly logical explanation. The Bermuda Triangle is one of the few places on Earth where true north and magnetic north line up. True north is the direction to the geographic North Pole, while magnetic north is what your compass points to. Usually, there's a slight difference between them, called magnetic declination, which sailors and pilots have to account for. But within the triangle, this declination can be zero. As you travel through the area, your compass can appear to go haywire as it adjusts to this unique magnetic field. For an inexperienced navigator, especially in the past, this would have been incredibly disorienting. What about ships and planes just disappearing? One of the most compelling scientific theories involves rogue waves. For a long time, these were thought to be just sailors' tall tales, impossibly huge waves that could appear out of nowhere, even in calm seas. But we now have satellite evidence that they are very real. A rogue wave can be a vertical wall of water over 100 feet high, more than capable of swallowing a large ship whole in an instant, leaving no time for a distress call and leaving behind no wreckage. Then there's the geology of the seafloor. The region has some of the deepest marine trenches in the world, like the Puerto Rico Trench, which is over 27,000 feet deep. If a plane or ship were to sink there, finding the wreckage would be like finding a needle in a haystack the size of a mountain. It's not that the evidence isn't there, it's just that it's buried miles beneath the ocean's surface, far beyond our easy reach. Another popular theory points to large deposits of methane gas trapped in the seabed. If a geological shift were to release a massive bubble of this methane hydrate, it would drastically reduce the density of the water above it. A ship sailing over this spot would lose buoyancy almost instantly and sink like a stone. If the gas cloud was large and dense enough to reach the sky, it could also stall an airplane's engine by starving it of oxygen, or even ignite, causing a catastrophic explosion. This theory could explain why some vessels disappear so quickly and without a trace. Of course, no discussion of the Bermuda Triangle is complete without recounting the eerie incidents that built its reputation. The most famous of all is the story of Flight 19. On December 5, 1945, 5 U.S. Navy Avenger torpedo bombers took off from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, for a routine training exercise. The flight leader, Lieutenant Charles Taylor, was an experienced pilot, but he was new to the area. A couple of hours into the flight, radio operators picked up a disturbing transmission. Taylor sounded confused. He said his compasses were malfunctioning and he wasn't sure of his position. He thought they were over the Florida Keys, but they were likely far out over the Atlantic. Radio operators tried to guide them back, but the communication was garbled and faded in and out. The last thing they heard was Taylor telling his crew to prepare to ditch their planes in the ocean once they ran out of fuel. The 5 bombers, with 14 men aboard, were never seen or heard from again. The mystery deepened when a Martin Mariner rescue plane, sent out to search for Flight 19 with a crew of 13, also vanished. It's believed that the rescue plane, which was known to have a risk of fuel vapor explosions, likely blew up in mid-air. But for believers in the Triangle's power, it was proof that a sinister force was at work, claiming 6 planes and 27 men in a single day. Another classic tale is that of the USS Cyclops, a massive US Navy cargo ship. In March 1918, it set sail from Barbados to Baltimore with over 300 people on board. The ship was heavily loaded with manganese ore. It made an unscheduled stop, but then continued on its journey and simply vanished. No distress call was ever sent. No wreckage was ever found. An extensive search turned up nothing. It was the single largest loss of life for the US Navy not involving combat. Explanations range from it being capsized by a rogue wave to its heavy cargo shifting and throwing it off balance, or even that it was a victim of German submarine warfare during World War I, though there are no records to support this. To this day, the fate of the USS Cyclops remains a complete mystery. Then there's the story of the Mary Celeste, often wrongly associated with the Bermuda Triangle but a classic ghost ship story nonetheless. A better example is the Carroll A. Deering, a 5-masted schooner found wrecked off the coast of North Carolina in 1921. The ship was completely deserted. The crew's personal belongings, the ship's logbook, and the lifeboats were all missing. The only signs of life were a 6-toed cat and some food left on the stove in the galley, as if the crew had vanished in the middle of preparing a meal. The investigation was inconclusive, with theories ranging from mutiny to piracy or even becoming victims of another passing ship. Its proximity to the Triangle and the unexplained abandonment of the ship have made it a cornerstone of the legend. So, what's the final verdict? Is the Bermuda Triangle a paranormal playground, a scientific anomaly, or just a product of human imagination and bad weather? The US Coast Guard and other official bodies don't recognize the Bermuda Triangle as a specific area of hazard. They point out that many of the stories have been embellished over time, and that the number of incidents is not unusually high when you consider the vast amount of air and sea traffic that passes through this heavily traveled region every day. The area is also known for its volatile weather, including sudden, intense hurricanes and thunderstorms that can form with little warning. Combine that with the challenging navigational aspects and the extreme ocean depth, and you have a recipe for accidents. Many supposed mysteries have also been solved. For example, some ships and planes reported as lost in the Triangle actually disappeared somewhere else entirely, or were later found to have sunk due to explainable mechanical failures or bad weather. The legend persists because we are drawn to mystery. The idea of a place where the laws of our world don't apply is both terrifying and thrilling. But maybe the real mystery isn't what happens to the ships and planes, but why we are so captivated by these stories. They remind us that despite all our technology and knowledge, the world is still a vast, powerful, and sometimes unknowable place. Whether you believe in the supernatural explanations or stick to the scientific ones, the Bermuda Triangle remains a powerful symbol of the unknown. What do you think is really going on in the Bermuda Triangle? Let me know your theories down in the comments. Thanks for joining us on World in Focus. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of history's greatest mysteries, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss an exploration into the unknown. We'll see you in the next one.